Hello, fourth grade. It's Mrs. Price, and I'm back with your week 7 packet. We're going to focus on personification on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week. So just another type of figurative language, right? Where we're playing with our language. We see it in poetry. We see it in books. We use it probably more than we think. It's just a play on language, a fun way to express what we're trying to say. Okay, so we're going to focus on personification. And if you look at our big anchor chart right here, it says personification is giving human qualities to objects or things. So I'm going to kind of zoom in on this picture right here, and I love this. It says, the angry sea swallowed the tiny ship. Okay, well, we obviously know that the sea is not capable of swallowing something, right? That's a human quality that we have. We are able to swallow things, but the sea is not. But again, that's just a very poetic way of saying that the sea, apparently there was a big storm, right? So you have big, aggressive waves and winds, and this poor little tiny ship over here just probably got obliterated by a huge wave. And so that is what that is. That's how you would interpret that. So I gave you another, this is a smaller little anchor chart. It says personification is giving human qualities to non-human things. The same thing that the other anchor chart just said. And then we have some examples. Leaves danced in the wind. Leaves were being moved by the wind is what that means. And then the personification, thunder clapped. And then what that means is the noise heard during a rainstorm. Okay, so there's some little examples of personifications. And then I made another anchor chart for you. I want to make sure you really understand what it is. So again, it's when the author gives a non-human thing characteristics. So instead of writing, the leaves were blowing, the author could use personification and say, the leaves were dancing in the wind. And it says the leaves weren't really dancing in the wind, but the way they are blowing is similar to how a person dances. So we have some examples. My iPad is broken. The personification that you could write is, my iPad throws a tantrum every time I use it. Right? That's something that a human does, not an iPad. But I love that comparison because if you think about our iPads or our phones, our computers, we get angry at them, right, when they don't work, but it's a machine. It can't help it, right? Machines are going to, they're going to malfunction every once in a while. They're not human. So that's why personification is fun. Another one is the pot was overflowing with popcorn. So the personification would be the popcorn was jumping out of the bowl. And the thunder was so loud. The thunder clapped angrily. And I'm excited for summer vacation. I can hear summer vacation calling my name. So those are some great examples. And then I gave you a few more examples over here. My computer hates me. So it's kind of like the iPad one. The sun wearily crossed the late autumn sky. The bees buzzed merrily among the flowers. The old car sat idle, lonely and forgotten. The alarm clock sprang to life, waking me from my sleep. Okay, so those are kind of fun to think about. What is it? What are we've given human characteristics to non-human things, but what does each one mean? Well, my computer hates me. Well, we know a computer can't actually hate us. It's just malfunctioning, right? Just like the iPad. The sun wearily crossed the late autumn sky. Well, I think that means wearily cross the late autumn sky. Wearily, what does that mean? Well, when you're weary, you're just kind of down and sad and just kind of moving in slow motion. So I think the sun just kind of crept across the late autumn sky, right? The bees buzzed merrily among the flowers. Well, that must mean they're happy bees, right? They're among the flowers. They're getting ready to pollinate. They're happy campers. The old car sat idle, lonely, and forgotten. Well, idle means it's sitting still. So I don't think it's really sad or lonely. I don't think it feels forgotten. but it may look like it, right? It's someone has abandoned it, and so it's just it's a car that's sitting and no longer being used. And then the alarm clock sprang to life, waking me from my sleep. Well, alarm clocks don't really spring to life, but if you've ever had an alarm clock like the one pictured, which is a more old-fashioned kind of alarm clock, oh my goodness, they're loud, and they kind of move when they go off. And so it does kind of feel like it springs to life, waking you, right? It kind of jolts you from your sleep. So those are some great examples of personification. So again, another type of figurative language that we can use in our poetry. All right, so your Wednesday worksheet is all about personification. So we've already talked about these two things right here, but let's just look at their example. It says nature is wise. Okay, in this case, we're giving nature the human characteristic of wisdom. Well, wisdom is something that you gain over time, right? You get smarter and smarter the older that you get because you've experienced life more. And so you know how to approach problems and different situations in a better way than when you were younger. So that's what wisdom is. But this is saying nature is wise. Well, we know that nature, we're obviously giving a human characteristic to something that is not human, right? Nature, think about nature. I mean, that can be many different things. You know, you think of the beauty outside. You think of animals. Animals are part of nature. And nature, you know, I can see this. Nature is wise. You know, animals know what to do. Think about bees. They're a part of nature. You know, they have such an amazing purpose to make honey and pollinate flowers. Without bees, man, we would be in a lot of trouble. So that's a great example of nature is wise. And I could go on, but I love that. So what you're going to do is you are going to read the example of personification, and then it's just going to ask you some questions. And I think that's all that you are doing on this entire sheet. Looks like you just have 6 to interpret, and then you're going to create your own. So let's do number 1 together. It says, the moon and the stars looked at us. Okay, well, we obviously know that moon and stars cannot look at us, but what do you think that means? We've given human characteristics to the moon and the stars. If we feel like they're looking at us, maybe they are really, really bright, right? They're bright in the sky. And so when we look up at the sky, it feels like they are looking at us. I don't know, maybe you interpret that in a different way. That's the beauty of poetry. It's a lot like art. It's open for interpretation. Okay, so let's read the first question. What objects are given human actions or characteristics? Well, we just talked about that. It's the moon and the stars, right? And we don't have a lot of room to write, so I'm just going to put moon and stars. Okay. What characteristic or action is given? What characteristic or action is given? Well, what characteristic did we give the moon and the stars? Well, they're looking at us, right? That's the action. That's the characteristic. They're looking at us. And what does that mean? I think it means that the moon and stars are shining very bright in the sky. Okay, so that's how we would interpret number 1. So let's just kind of read through the rest, and then you can interpret those. Number 2 says, the wind roared furiously. I like that. Must be really, really windy. The lizard is crying. Uh-oh. The fox gave wise counsel. Now think about, I talked about wisdom over here. So if you don't remember, rewind this video and listen to my discussion about wisdom. Okay. Those shoes and counsel, I'm going to be honest, that's a big vocabulary word. I'm going to encourage you to use your student dictionary or your computer and look up counsel and even look up wise. Okay, see if Mrs. Price was correct with her definition. You need to look up what counsel is. Okay, so I'm going to encourage you to do that on your own. Number 5 says, those shoes wouldn't stop shouting, buy me. Oh goodness, I've probably said that before. And then the last one is, the trees danced with the wind. I love that. And then remember, number 7, you are going to create your own example. Okay, so have fun with this. Be creative. Remember, there is no wrong answer. This is open for interpretation. You can interpret this the way that you think it sounds. All right, have fun with it. If you have any questions or need any help, you know where I'm at. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye.